Hey guys, welcome. Sorry, I didn't have my face in here. I'm here, yay, yay. Okay, let's get started. We have two more things to talk about in this chapter, chapter 8, and it's law of sines, law of cosines. Today's going to be law of sines, and then we'll have 8.6 video on law of cosines. So, and that's it. We're done with chapter 8, and we'll kind of recap it all. So, let's write this first thing down. And it basically says, the essential understanding up here, I'll read first, that'd be a good thing to write down too. It says, if you know the measure of two angles and the length of a side, or two sides and the length of an angle in a non-included obtuse, then you can find the measure of the triangle. So that's kind of a little bit wordy. Basically what we can do is we can take non-right triangles, which we've only used right triangles this whole chapter, but we can take non-right triangles and we can find sides and angles using law of sines in certain situations. So law of sines basically states that if I take the sine of A over A, so big A is across is little a, big B across is little b, and big C across is little c, these ratios hold true. Now it's kind of weird because you're like, there's three things here. You only do one equation at a time. So let's go ahead and see how this is used in an actual problem. And I'm going to tell you right now, tomorrow we are having a pop quiz on doing these. So make sure you really pay attention because it is worth your weight in points. So here we go. Let's get started. I'm going to do a couple problems with you guys, and you're going to see a very similar looking question tomorrow. Alright, first of all, draw any type of triangle you want. It doesn't matter. Okay, I just kind of go for a generic looking triangle. Now, angle A, B, and C is what we have, so label them wherever you like, doesn't matter. We're using this just to visualize our setup, okay? So I'm going to do angles in blue. So angle A is 48 degrees. Angle B, 93 degrees. And then AC is 15. Okay? To the nearest tenth, what is the length of BC? So we want to know this piece. Okay. Well, our law of sines is that if you take an angle, you need to put the sine of that angle over the opposite side. All right. So if I took the sine of B, then I need to put it over B. Okay? And if I set that equal to, I could do the sine of A over A. And if you recall from the picture, little a is opposite the big A angle, and little b is opposite the B angle. So how would I solve this or set this up? Well, sine B is going to become sine, what is the measure of B? 93 degrees. And what's across? What's baby B? 15. Equals sine A is 48. So we're going to do sine of 48 over what's across? X. So we have the piece that we want, and we can now solve this. So this is a proportion, right? So sine, law of sines is using proportions, saying if I take the sine of the angle over its opposite side, the sine of the angle over its opposite side, we can solve this. So we use our cross products. Okay? So we're going to get 15 times sine 48 equal to x times sine 93. Okay, that's not too bad. We are going to then, we want x alone. It's multiplying, so we can what? Divide. So we're going to divide by 93, sine 93. That cancels out. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So x is going to equal 15 times sine of 48 over sine of 93. Okay, all I have to do now is put that in my calculator. So 1 second, I'm going to go grab a calculator. I have my personal calculator, but let's use the calculator that you might use in my class. I'm going to expand my face here. This is going to get real cool. So let's use the calculator. The first thing to do, I put it in the top row, 15 times sine of 48. So that's the first thing you want to do. So you're just going to go ahead and input 15 times sine 48. I do that first, and I just hit enter. Okay, when I hit enter, I get 11.147. Then what I want to do is I want to divide by the sine of 93. So I hit the division button here, and then sine 93. Okay, so the answer from before divided by sine 93, hit enter, and we get 11.16. And that's my answer. Okay, now we should check for it being reasonable. 11.16, okay? Is this a reasonable answer? And yes, it is. And the way I know it's reasonable is because 93 is bigger than 48, and 15 should be bigger because it's across from a bigger angle. 11 is smaller than 15, and 48 is smaller than 93, so it makes sense. So this is good news for us. All right, let's look at another problem. Okay, so we have another triangle here, so we're going to draw a triangle. RST, doesn't matter the order. RT is 11. Let's do a different color, right? Oops. I think that worked a little bit better. So RT is 11, ST is 18, and R is 120. Notice, law of sines works with non-right triangles. What is S? Okay, do you see how we have the opposites, right? Angle S and side S. Angle R and side R. So we can use our law of sines. So I'm going to go ahead and write it out as the sine of S over baby S should equal the sine of R over baby R. Okay? And let's just plug this in correctly. Violet, why not? So the sine of X over 11 equals the sine of 120 over 18. Okay? We're going to cross multiply like we did before. So we get 11 times sine 120 equals 18 times sine X. Okay. So pretty much the same, but the difference here is now we have sine X. That's going to be a little bit more work. So we got to get rid of the 18 first. So we're going to divide by 18. Okay. I'm going to bring it over here. We got 11 times sine 120 divided by 18 equals sine X. Well, how do I get rid of the sine? Remember, whenever we solve for an angle, which we are solving for an angle, we're going to use inverse sine, or the inverse function. So we're going to have to go ahead and take the inverse sine of 11 times sine 120 over 18. And you're probably thinking, my goodness, Mr. Smith, how am I ever going to do this in my calculator? And I'm going to show you. So first thing we're going to do is break this down piece by piece. So I'm going to use a highlighter here. First, let's evaluate this portion in our calculator. Okay? So all we have to do, 11 times sine 120. So let's make our screen a little bit bigger again so you guys can see my calculator. So plug in 11 times sine 120. Hit enter. Okay. So there we go. We got 9.52. Now I want to divide that by 8. So we just hit divide by 8. So my calculator stores the answer previous. So we hit divide by 8. And that equals 11.9. Okay. This is the trick part now. Right. So that's what's in there, 11.9. So what you could do if you want, we could go ahead and write 11.9 and take the inverse sine of that. Okay. But we're rounding a little bit, right? Because we're leaving off all those little digits back there. So the best thing to do is your calculator automatically stores your last question. So what you can do is you just actually hit the inverse sine button. So we got the inverse sine. And then you can find the answer button. So most calculators have the answer button down here at the bottom. So mine's right there in blue, where you see it in the white with the little parentheses. So it says answer. So if I hit second answer, we'll take that 11.9 in there, and then I can hit enter, and we should get our answer here, which is accelerating. Let's see here. I think, one second, I think I accidentally hit the wrong button. So, okay, sorry, I accidentally didn't divide by 18. I divided by a different number. So we should have 0.52. That was my mistake. So I apologize. I had to check that real quick. So make mistakes, but then you check them real quick and you're fine. So we divided by 18, so we did 11 sine 120 divided by 18, we got 0.52. So 0.529. And now this will work. Do the inverse sine of the answer. And if you do that, we get 31.95. Okay? So x will equal 31.95. And this is in degrees because we're talking about an angle. Let's see if this makes sense. 120 was opposite 18. 31.5 degrees is opposite 11. This makes sense because we know that we're going to go ahead get a smaller angle than 120 because 11 is smaller than 18. Okay? Alright guys, again, we are having a pop quiz tomorrow. You can use all of your notes, but make sure you understand to the best of your ability how to do this. Okay? Alright. That's all for me today. Over and out.